I was kind of looking at the field of candidates that was running for the state house, and I thought, I can do as good a job as any of these folks. Maybe I should run. And like many women in this business, it was a man that suggested I think about running.
Governor, so I realized, as I was doing a deep dive into your background, I knew you went to Michigan State. I was trying to first figure out the years. You graduated the year I got there, so I just missed you.
You know what? Those are some of the best years of my life. I tell people all the time, the 7 years I spent at State were the best. And people usually think that's because I extended my undergrad program for 7 years, but I got my law degree there too. I love that university.
Yeah, same. So what dorms did you stay in?
I was at Wonders. So I was in Wonders for 2 years. How about you?
Yeah, I was in Hubbard my first year, Wonders the second year. And I would agree with you. I mean, it was Michigan State's a special place. And I know everybody who goes to a university kind of says the same thing, but in this case, I mean it. So, yeah.
Everyone says it, but we're right.
Yeah, we are right. Because I think you got to actually see a pretty decent football team here and there.
I did. I actually worked for the football team. Coach Perlis was the football coach back in those days. And, I wanted to be a sports broadcaster. I didn't know that I wanted to be Jemele Hill, but that was my plan. I loved it. It was a great opportunity to see from the sidelines how it's done.
Yeah. So when I saw that about you wanting to be a sports broadcaster, obviously that piqued my interest. So what happened? Why didn't you go forward with it?
It's interesting. When I was at State, my dad encouraged me to go down Michigan Avenue and go do an internship at the Capitol. And, he had worked at the Capitol in various points in his life. And he said, so few people understand government. You are going to a university right down the street from a state capitol, go do an internship and just get a little education down there. And so I was both working for the football team. I was working at in the state capitol for the House Democrats. And when I was at that moment after I graduated from State and I was trying to decide what I wanted to do, I was kind of thinking about law school. And a friend of mine said, if you still want to go into broadcasting, but you bring a law degree, that'll make you even more well-rounded. Maybe you should go on to that law school. And that's what I ended up doing. And I've been in policy ever since, but I always love sports. And I got to tell you, Jemele, I called Michigan State winning by 3 against Michigan this year.
You did. So, I saw that. I was like, she knew.
No one believed. No one believed, but
but you knew. Well, I have to say, as somebody who's been in sports broadcasting now for a few years, I mean, I was originally just a journalism major. I wanted to do print. The fact that you thought a law degree would make you more well-rounded in sports broadcasting, I was like, did she not know that you? Like, are you kidding me? That would have made you immediately overqualified for pretty much every broadcasting job.
I don't know. I think it's, there's so many ways to make a difference. And I think what you do, I mean, you speak truth to power, even from the vantage point of sports broadcasting. So, I mean, there's a way for each of us to make a difference.
So you get involved in politics, which is an interesting road, because I think maybe it's because as a constituent and as a citizen, I hear people who are so disillusioned by politics. What was it that made you want to get into it? Why did you think you could make a difference?
When I was down at the state capitol, it was a really weird time in Michigan history. We had a tie in the Michigan House of Representatives, 55 Democrats, 55 Republicans. And they literally switched every other month who was in control, who had the gavel, who set the agenda. And they worked really well together. And that kind of a scenario could lead to complete gridlock, or it could work really well. And it worked really well. And that's when I got my taste of politics. I saw these leaders putting an agenda together where they could try to find common ground. And that was inspiring. When I was in law school, it flipped to Republican control. And when I was practicing law, because we have term limits in Michigan, I was kind of looking at the field of candidates that was running for the state house. And I thought, I can do as good a job as any of these folks. Maybe I should run. And like many women in this business, it was a man that suggested I think about running. It doesn't dawn on us. It was other people that encourage us to do it. And so many stories are like that. And I jumped in, and it's because I know the decisions that happen there every day matter. right? They matter from the minute you wake up and brush your teeth by turning on your faucet. Is that drinking water going to be safe? To when you get in the car and you drive on the roads, do we need to fix the damn roads? That's what I ran on in 18. And we've seen right now that how life and death it can matter who's in these positions. So I of course never knew I'd run for governor one day. That was, I was just in the moment thinking I can do as good a job as any of these people. I'm gonna run because it matters.
Well, one of the reasons I think that you got elected in Michigan was because people saw you as somebody who could really bring both sides together, that you were somebody who had worked well with both parties. You had a history of that. Looking at our current political climate in this country, it does not feel as if there is a possibility for unity. That's my take on it. And Joe Biden obviously has other ideas, and he immediately called for unity. As somebody who's the governor of a state where there are some polarizing opinions, particularly about how you operate, what do you think about that call for unity? Is that possible? Can the other side be worked with despite all the things that we have seen them do and continue to do, even right now, as Joe Biden is the president-elect?
I definitely think it's possible. And I definitely think that it's absolutely critical that we strive for it. Now, does it mean you're going to find it on every issue? No. Does it mean that we're still going to have a lot of hard conversations as a nation and as a state here? Absolutely. When I ran, I often would use the Mackinac Bridge as a symbol of the campaign. Mackinac Bridge spans the Upper Peninsula and the Lower Peninsula of Michigan. Was when it was built the largest suspension bridge of its kind, and it really connected our people, and it strengthened our economy. And I think in a world where right now the man in the White House wants to build walls and keep people out, building bridges is how we get things done. And I love that symbolism, but I think I really believe the concept that we have to be able to have hard conversations and find common ground. This is a terribly polarizing moment, and the vitriol is real, and it's dangerous, and it's scary. I mean, I've confronted some things that I never would have imagined, and yet I am committed to doing what I can to find that common ground where we can. And I'm not going to sacrifice my values. I'm not going to apologize for who I am, but I am going to every day work to try to find that common ground. And that's why I liked the speeches that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris gave on that Saturday when it became clear that they had gotten the electoral college votes and he was going to be sworn in as the next president and she as the next vice president. I think that that's the right tone, and I think leaders of goodwill on both sides of the aisle need to do their part to make sure that we can start to mend some of these wounds in our country.
I'll get to in a moment some of the things that you have personally faced in this political climate, much of which has been engineered by the president, by his language and by the tone that he set. But right now you have a number of Republicans who are refusing to acknowledge the fact that Joe Biden has won this election. Is this theater for the base? Like, how concerned should we be about this? Because these people of goodwill that you're talking about are participating in nonsense. So is this just political theater, or are you really concerned about this?
I think it's both, to be honest. I saw President Obama talk about the biggest disappointment is not in the behavior of the guy in the White House. We know who he is now. But the biggest disappointment is in these leaders who have been in these positions of power, who are towing a line to appease one person as opposed to doing what they know is in the best interest of our country. And I think that's the most distressing part of this moment. I do think that it's largely theater in that it's not going to change the outcome of this election. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are going to be sworn in on January 20th. They overwhelmingly won. They overwhelmingly won Michigan, and yet they're still tinkering around with the State Board of Canvassers here in Michigan. So this is, I do think, theater that is designed to perpetuate maybe a brand beyond January 20th. But at the end of the day, there's going to be a new president, and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are going to be setting an agenda and the saddest part of this moment, I think, is the fact that they haven't started this transition when so many American lives are being lost every single day because of the mishandling of this virus. These games have a real toll, and that is American lives lost, and the economy that is suffering because of their mismanagement as well.
Do some politicians not understand that the games that they play, or the gamesmanship, or even the theater of it all, do they not realize that there's a real world consequence for the rest of us?
I think there are people who don't appreciate what a transition is and why it's so critical. I think that there are people who don't know the incredible work that has to get done in a very short period of time. When I came in as governor, we had 55 days from the day of the election to when I was sworn in. I was sworn in on the 1st of January. So it was a even more condensed period of time, but it's a state, it's not a nation. And I had a outgoing governor who we were very different, but he conducted a transition worthy of the people of Michigan. So we could make this seamless handover. The incredible toll that they are exacting on the American public is not being realized because people don't know how much work has to be done right now. Our homeland security is undermined. Our ability to meet the needs of people in the middle of a pandemic is being undermined. The needs of individual states who are trying to keep people alive and help people put food on the table, literally, that is at risk here. The aid that people need just to get through this next couple of months, which is going to be so hard with this pandemic, all of that is being undermined by their obstinance and the ego.